Shalom, Israel, shalom, shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashima, Mashiach, Wamalaki Bashai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting and laboring for the second coming of our Lord Yahushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent, and they're abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Again, shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters, moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers, zealous and of good works, right? Shalom to the ancient men, shalom to the children, and shalom to the elect of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. And again, shalom to everybody tuning in live through the spirit and power of Yahweh. It is only begotten Son Yahweh Shai. W5 Ezekiel, shalom, King. Ikira, shalom. Don Israel Tamid, shalom, King. Benjamin Youngwolf, shalom. Yahweh 7, shalom. Ephraimite Ott, Renee A, Trisha Favors, Kapash Kayal, shalom, King. Sister Bridges, Swag Society, Terry Jacobs, and again, everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. Scriptural breakdowns, Q&A, and more. Let's get right into it. In Leviticus 19:33 through 34, the stranger referred to Israelites or heathens. So let's dive into it. Let's tap into the law. Right? Let's tap into the law through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. And I want to kind of go through these, man. I have a habit of taking a while on questions, but I'm gonna try to go through these. Let my speech be short, comprehending much in a few words. So this is Leviticus 19:33. And if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, ye shall not vex him. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you. And thou shalt love him as thyself, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So this goes into Israelites that lived in other lands, rather they lived outside of Judea or they lived outside the land of Israel. When they came into Israel, we had to treat them as if they were born in the land. And we know that this isn't talking about actual heathen, because you can't love necessarily a heathen as you love yourself, because there are laws that pertain to how we discriminate willfully against the heathen and how we can feed them food that is sacrificed, or it's like your food of a carcass of an animal. We can commit usury on a heathen. These are things that we can do to a heathen, right? The Lord said in Leviticus 25, let me just get another one. I'm not going to be able to pull and do an in-depth breakdown on every precept for sake of time, but I'm just giving, answers. Leviticus 25 and verse number 46. Here's an example. And ye shall, I'm going to start at 45. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you. To inherit them for a possession, they shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. So if we can rule over the heathen with rigor, that's not loving them as we love ourselves, because we can't rule over each other with rigor, right? So there's a separation right there. This is Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 21. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it, or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid and his mother's milk. So anything that dies of itself, you can give that to a heathen. They're called strangers. You can rule over them with rigor. That's for the strangers. You can charge them. I believe that's in let me get this, and Deuteronomy. Right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 23 and 20. You can charge some with usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to, and the land whither thou goest to possess it. So you have a plethora of precepts that discriminate against the heathen. So when you read Leviticus 19, we know that we can't love a heathen as we love ourselves, because we are obligated to deal with the heathen in a rigorous fashion. If that makes sense, right? Rather we rule over them with the rod of iron, rather we rule over them with the staff, or rather they eat these foods that we're not allowed to eat. But let's say you had an Israelite like Naomi who lived in the land of Moab, and she came back to the land of Judah. We can't vex her, and Boaz didn't vex her. Nobody vexed her and said, "Oh, that's a stranger. She came out the land. Why'd you leave? You only came here for bread, for food." They took care of Naomi. They even took care of Ruth. You understand? But Naomi would be a stranger because she was born in Judea, but she left and lived in Moab, but then she came back as a stranger. Let me let's get a quick precept. Let's get an example of that. Right? Then I'm gonna move on. Like I said, I don't want this to be too long. This is let's see, I want the first chapter. Right? Bear with me. I want Ruth, the first chapter. Okay, this is Ruth chapter 1 and verse number 20. I'll start at Ruth 1 and 21. So they too went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass when they were come to Bethlehem that all the city was moved about them. And they said, "Is this Naomi?" And she said unto them, "Call me not Naomi, but call me Mara. For the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me?" So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. So they couldn't vex Naomi when she came back, right? They couldn't say, "Well, what's going on? And, you shouldn't have came back. You're not allowed back in your land." You had laws of redemption of your land, right? You had laws to redeem your brother. So you had different laws that pertain to how we became strangers, right? Israelites have become strangers. Leviticus 25 and 33. Actually, it's Leviticus, 25 and 35, Salakia. Leviticus 25 and 35. And if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Take thou no usury of him or increase, but fear thy God, that thy brother may live with thee. So that links up with Leviticus 19 and 33 through 34. Your brother could be into hard times and lose his house. He could lose his land, all his oxen, all his cattle. You're obligated to relieve him, meaning sustain him financially until he can get back on his feet. Rather he works for you, or whatever the case may be. It says, though he be a stranger, right? He can be a stranger. You can't vex him. You got to deal with him. All right. So let's move on. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Okay, next question. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Basham Yahushua. Kapash Kaya Salaki King. Shalom King is 2nd Ezra 10:41 through 43, talking of Israel and Yahushua. All right, let's go into it. 2nd Ezra 10:41 through 43. Right, precept upon precept, Salakia, line upon line, here a little and there a little. And we kind of just going back to that previous question, we have to know how to discern when it's talking about an actual heathen, right? And when it's talking about, or an actual stranger, and when it's talking about Israelites that became strangers, right? And we've done, entire lessons on that as well. So the second question, right? 2nd Ezra chapter 10:41 through 43. Slakia, thou sawest a woman mourning, and thou beganst to comfort her. But now seest thou the likeness of the woman no more, but there appeared unto thee a city builded. And where she told thee the death of her son, This is the solution. So Ezra was in the field mourning, beseeching the Most High, and the Lord gave him a vision, right, of this woman mourning for her son, and she wept day and night every hour. The Lord gave her son, and her son died, and she overthrew the lights, and she ran out in the field to mourn. What Ezra saw was a similitude, right? It represented Israel in their lower state. So I believe the brother asks, is this talking about Israel and Yahushua? When you read the rest of this chapter, it breaks it down, right? It tells you exactly what it's talking about. So this second Ezra is 10 and 43 again. And whereas she told thee the death of her son, this is the solution. So the angel is going to break down what that encounter actually meant on a spiritual level between Ezra and that woman and what her complaint was. This woman whom thou sawest is Zion, and whereas she said unto thee, even she whom thou seest as a city builded. So the woman represents Israel, right? Jerusalem, on a more granular level. That's what it represents. Israel is likened to a woman, right? The Lord even said, and as a people in Jeremiah 6 and 2, I've likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. And even our land is likened to our mother, right? When you read Baruch, let me get a quick precept. I'm going to open up another apocrypha, for lack of better terms, right? And I want to go to Baruch. And in the ancient world, and even now, lands are named primarily with a feminine spirit. Most lands have a name that's attributed to women primarily. Now, you have men that conquer lands and name it after themselves, but in the ancient world, cities had a feminine spirit behind it, right? Because that was the birthplace of those individuals. So the city was like the mother, if you will. So this is Baruch chapter 4 and verse number 19. Go your way, O my children, go your way, for I am left desolate. Who's speaking right now? Jerusalem, right? Jerusalem is. But she's the mother, and we are the children. I have put off the clothing of peace and put upon me the sackcloth of my prayer. I will cry into the everlasting in my days. So this is Jerusalem being personified as a mother who lost her children. We are the children, right? We are the children. Here's it. Let me jump up a little bit. This Baruch 4 and 14. Let them that dwell about Zion come, and remember ye the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting have brought upon them. So Jerusalem is that mother. We all know Galatians 4 and 26. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the what? Which is the mother of us all. So that's why this mother in 2nd Ezra 10 is also Jerusalem, who lost her son. Okay? So that's what it's going into. So let's read on. Verse 45. And whereas I say, she said unto thee that she hath been 30 years barren, those are the 30 years wherein there was no offering made in her. But after 30 years, Solomon builded the city and offered offerings, and then bare the barren a son. So we know Solomon came into power around 970 BC, and he ruled for 40 years till about 930. Right? So this is what she's speaking about, is the temple. Right? The temple. That's where it says wherein there was no offering made in her, because there was no temple built at that time. Remember, David, he wanted to build a temple, but the Most High told him, you can't build a temple because your hands are too bloody. You shed blood upon the earth, too much blood, whereas you can't build the temple. So as you dive into the Kings and Chronicles, you read that David orchestrated, for lack of better terms, the construction of the temple. He gathered the resources. He willfully offered his resources, his gold and his silver. He gathered up all of the captains of the host and set up Solomon for success. Right? So that was that time. And then after those 30 years, that's when Solomon built the city. What she's really mentioning is talking about the temple being built. Okay? being lavished with gold and all of the precious substance. So let's read this again. 2nd Ezra 10 and 46. But after 30 years, Solomon builded the city and offered offerings, and then bare the barren a son. And whereas she told thee that she nourished him with labor, that was the dwelling in Jerusalem, right? Because you had Israel as the sand of the sea, eating and drinking and making merry, right? We were prosperous. But whereas she said unto thee that my son coming into his marriage chamber happened to have a fall and died, this was the destruction that came to Jerusalem, right? And that's what happened when the Babylonians, and they had 3 sieges, one in 605 BC, the other one in 597 BC, but the final siege in the late summer of 586 BC was the final siege of Jerusalem that Nebuchadnezzar II did. And that's what she means when she said her son died, which represents the Israelites being taken captive by the Babylonian Empire. So it breaks it down what it's going into. We just have to do our due diligence to go into the history and link it up directly to what she's talking about. All right, so that's what it's going into, King. Okay, second question. What is the significance of the 4 beasts in Revelation chapter 5 and 6 and their representation? Okay, let's go into it. What is the significance of the 4 beasts? This is Revelation chapter 5 and verse number 6. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 heads and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. So when you read this account, this is John the Revelator seeing Yahushua grab the book out of the Most High's hand off the throne and open it up. And there are a succession of different prophecies that are unfolding, which the scriptures call the 7 seals. But he also saw in the midst of the throne, he saw a lamb, which represents Yahushua, having 7 horns, which represents him being omnipotent. Your horn represents your strength and your power. And 7 eyes represent the Most High giving Yahushua the spirit of being omniscient, which means he knows all things. Okay? And it says, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth, which represents the angels, right? And the power of the Most High through his son Yahushua. Now, when it goes into these 4 beasts, it's not an actual beast like a tiger or a lion or a bear, right? Or a gorilla, right? These beasts are actually angels, right? These beasts are actually angels, right? This is Revelation chapter 4 and verse number 7. Let's start at 6 and we'll read a little bit more about the 4 beasts. Revelation chapter 4 and 6. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. So these angels, these are actual spirits, right? Because you don't have actual tigers in the 3rd heaven, right? You don't have lions and bears and chimpanzees. So we're going to go into the Hebrew, we're going to go into the Greek, we're going to kind of break this down in a brief fashion. So the eyes, full of them, before and behind, also represents the omniscient spirit of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua, because the angels see all things, right? They have 360 degrees, for lack of better terms, of understanding. Let's go to 2 Samuel. Let's prove that. Right? So full of eyes before and behind. This is 2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse number 20. To fetch about this form of speech hath thy servant Joab done this thing. And my Lord is wise, according to the wisdom of an angel of God, to know all things that are in the earth. So the angels see all things. They're full of eyes, which represents, again, them being able to see all of the works of man. know your thoughts, your intents. All those things are recorded by the angels. All right. So that's why they're full of eyes before and behind. Verse 7, Revelation 4 and 7. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf. And the third beast had a face as a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. And each one of these creatures represents the strength and power of the Most High. All of these creatures are the epitome of strength in their respective class. In Esau's world, he has something called the animal kingdom, right? He has the animal kingdom, and he has the world of felines and mammals, and he breaks it down into different classes. So in a world of predators and in a world of land animals, amongst tigers and bears, and the lion is a supreme creature. It's Proverbs chapter 30 and 30. The lion, which is strongest amongst beasts, runneth not from any, paraphrasing. So all these creatures in their respective class and their purpose, they are the peak of strength amongst the calves, right? You have many different cattle, right? You have goats, you have sheep, but the top creature of strength is the calf or the ox, the bull. And its respective class amongst cattle, that one is the supreme one of strength. And then the dominant creature of all is man, right? So that's why it has the face of a man, because man was made a little lower than the angels. And then the eagle amongst all birds and amongst all predators, hawks and falcons, the eagle represents strength. Yahweh Shah said that we would mount up with wings of an eagle. Or in Revelation 12, the Lord said that the woman fled with the great wings of an eagle, because eagles represent strength. So all these spirits are designed in a particular fashion where they represent not only one thing, which is the strength of the Most High, but remember, they're full of eyes before and behind, which represents the divine knowledge of Yahweh Ba'ashmal Shah, right? His power to know all things. That's what these four beasts represent. Let's read on. Maybe I'll get two more. And the two more precepts. And the four beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. And they do that nonstop. They don't take breaks. They don't have days off. They don't come down on the earth and talk to man and give man visions and dreams and revelations. And no, they rest not day and night. All day, 24/7, all they do is praise the Most High. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. That's their job. Right? And once they say that, that's the job. They give license to the 4 and 20 elders to cast their crowns down. So they have a 24/7 choir up there in the third heaven. Now, when you look up the word beast and the etymology, and I'm spending some time on this. I'm try to be quick. Okay, here's the word beast. Okay, beast. It means one of the lower animals. Let's see, 4-footed animal, right? But it's not now you look up the word animal, right? Because it's not talking about an actual animal. Okay, let's go to the word animal. Because these are spirits. Because you don't have actual lions with 6 wings. Okay, here's which one, animal, right? Which is another name for a beast. See, check this out. A rare word in English before the 1600s. Because nobody used the word animal before the 1600s. They used beast. All right. So it says, and not found in the KJV 1611. Because anytime they would use the word beast, commonly only of non-human creatures. So non-human creatures could be anything, right? It could be an angel. It could be a spirit. It drove out the older beasts and common language, used derisively of brutish humans, and the which animal or non-rational, non-spiritual nature is ascendant. Now, when you go up, it says what? Any sentient living creature. That's where you get the other words like animated, animas. People watch a genre of TV called anime, right? And all it means to live, to be alive, animated, to have life, to be living. So those four beasts are really, they're really living creatures. Okay, they're living creatures. That's why they're called beast. It says living being which breathes, animate, living of the air from anima, breath or soul, right? So they really just represent spirits. They're living creatures. In Ezekiel, they're called living creatures. I'm gonna get that, then we're going to move on. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1 and verse number 5. Also, out of the midst thereof came the likeness of four living creatures. So these are four beasts, four animals. Okay. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, right? So they had head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And everyone had four faces, and everyone had four wings. And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. So they had feet like a calf foot, and it was, brown and glowing. All of the angels are so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American men. Okay. And they had, on a spiritual level, and they had the hands of a man under their wings on their four sides, and they four had their faces and their wings. So you got to imagine this. You got to visualize this. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went straight forward. Yeah, they don't have to turn around. If you got a head with four faces, you have no need to turn around because you have 360 degrees of vision. You have eyes before and behind. Here's the point. As for the likeness of their faces, they four had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side, and they four had the face of an ox on the left side. They four also had the face of an eagle. So this is another spirit similar to John's description in Revelation, the 4th chapter. Okay. Now, in this vision, the only difference is these living creatures, these animals, if you have understanding, they have one head with four faces. In Revelation 4, that you have four different creatures, and they all have four separate faces, right? That's the only difference. But their makeup is still the same. Okay, their makeup is still the same. So that's it on that with the four beasts. There's a little bit more we can go into, regarding the four beasts and the ancient world and the wilderness, but we'll rest on that just to keep things short. Okay, can you work, buy, and sell on Purim, or is it to be kept like a Sabbath? Yeah, there's no law that says Purim is a Sabbath. Okay, there's no law that says Purim is a Sabbath. Let's go to Esther, chapter 9. Right, not every feast day is a Sabbath. Right, not every feast day is a Sabbath. Like on the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the first day is a Sabbath, the last day is a Sabbath, or the seventh day. Feast of Tabernacles, the first day is a Sabbath, the eighth day is a Sabbath. Feast of Dedication, the first day is a Sabbath, the last day is a Sabbath. Pentecost is a Sabbath. Day of Atonement is a Sabbath, right? But you have other days like destruction of Nicanor. It's not a Sabbath. You have those days that fall in between the first and the seventh day, a Feast of Dedication, Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? Feast of Tabernacles that aren't Sabbaths, So we don't want to add, neither do we want to take away from the word. So this is Esther chapter 9 and verse number 17. On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested they and made it a day of feasting and gladness. And that's all it is. It's a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th thereof, and on the 15th day of the same, they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Right? And why did they rest? Because they got the victory over the enemies. They was destroying their enemies for all these days, man. Remember, all these heathen had the license to come and exterminate them. So after they had the power from the Most High to vanquish their foes, they rested. Right? Their rest has nothing to do with the Sabbath day. And this account right here. Verse 19. Esther 9 and 19. Therefore, the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and sending portions one to another. So it's not a Sabbath, right? The scriptures do not call it a Sabbath. We always encourage brothers in wisdom, pursuant to Nehemiah 10 and 31, not to buy on holy days, and you should want to keep this feast day with brothers. You shouldn't say, well, it doesn't say it's a Sabbath, so I'm working. I'm busy. I'm tied up. I'm pulling a double. No, brother, keep the feast day, brother. Well, it doesn't say it's a Sabbath. I will still work. Okay, well, brother, that's not a good and holy thought. It's not a good and holy thought, because your spirit ain't right, man. Brother mine not right. He's just looking for loopholes to get money, but he don't want to keep the feast day with joy and gladness. All right, so let's move on. Okay, from Sister Bridges 45. Can you explain Leviticus 10, 19 through 20? Okay, let's do it. Leviticus chapter 10. Let's do it. 19 through 20. It reads, and Aaron said unto Moses, behold, this day have they offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord, and such things have befallen me. And if I had eaten the sin offering today, should it have been accepted in the sight of the Lord? And when Moses heard that, he was content. Yeah, when you read this, this is when Nadab and Abihu, they lit strange fire before the Lord. The Lord killed them. The Lord checked Aaron through Moses, right? He says, this is that what the Lord spake, saying, I shall be sanctified in thee. So then the Lord had to get them bodies out, right? And they had to take them bodies from Nadab and Abihu out out the tabernacle. And then they had to do a sin offering, right? But then Aaron was in a spirit where he was weeping and his spirit wasn't right. And he was crying, and, his sons died, and right. So it was a lot going on, right? And when you do the work of the Most High, it has to be done in perfection. You the high priest, you can't be sitting up there weeping and his tears and his sobbing with your sorrow as you eat the sin offering. It's not going to be acceptable. The offerings that we do before the Most High, especially after this, he saw his sons lit strange fire. So if he was to partake of this offering and eat the sin offering in the right place, his spirit had to be right. And Aaron knew that. And Moses knew that. That's why Moses didn't say nothing. Moses was content. He didn't say, well, hey, so what? And here's the law. And that was mercy. Right? Understanding if you're going to indulge and commit to eat the sin offering, that has to be done in the right spirit. Okay, it has to be done in the right spirit. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I pretty much explained it, right? And what happened, right? Regarding, the offerings and what was done. So this is Leviticus 10. Let's see if I'll see where I want to start. Okay, this is let's read 16. Leviticus 10 and 16. And Moses diligently sought the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burnt. He was angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, the sons of Aaron, which were alive, saying, Wherefore have ye not eaten a sin offering in a holy place, seeing it is most holy? And God hath given it you to bear the iniquity of the congregation, to make atonement for them before the Lord. Behold, the blood of it was not brought in within the holy place. Ye should indeed have eaten it in the holy place, as I commanded. And Aaron said unto Moses, behold, this day have they offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord, and such things have befallen me. What befell him? His sons died. Right? His sons got killed. And if I had eaten a sin offering today, should it have been accepted in the sight of the Lord? So that's what I was going into. Is going into when you are a partaker of these offerings, it has to be done with a clean spirit, right? And you can't be mourning and for the dead, and you crying and your tears all over, your mind not right. You drop the offering, and things have to be done in order, right? So that's what that's going into. After his sons died. Isaiah 55 and 5. What does that mean? Let's go with that. All right. Let's try to get rapid fire. Isaiah 55 and 5. Behold, thou shalt call a nation that thou knowest not, and nations that knew not thee shall run unto thee because of the Lord thy God, and for the Holy One of Israel, for he hath glorified thee. Right. So this is a call unto the Israelites to come back to Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. Right. Our people fell out with the Most High due to idolatry, Hellenization, many diasporas, right? Just outright ignorance. And we fell out of our heritage and nationality and our customs as a people. So that's why it says, behold, thou shalt call a nation that thou knowest not. Because the Lord didn't know us at one time. He even said in let's get this in Hosea. Right? Let's get one of the classics. Hosea chapter 1 and verse number 9. Then said God, call his name Lo Ami, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your God. Yeah, it got to a point where the Most High was so angry with us, he disowned us. And we didn't know the Most High. To know the Most High, you have to keep the laws and the commandments. That's 1 John chapter 2 and 3. And hereby do we know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. He that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him, paraphrasing. So the nation that didn't know him was a nation that wasn't keeping the laws and the commandments due to rebellion, idolatry, and sin. Right? That's all it's talking about. Let's get a precept. Let's go to Isaiah 65. All right, maybe get one precept. Isaiah 65 and 1. I am sought of them that asked not for me. I am found of them that sought me not. I said, behold me unto a nation that was not called by my name. Yeah, who is this talking about? Israel. Why does it say unto a nation that was not called by my name? Because again, we were disowned by the Most High. That's why we needed, and we still do, the rest of the elect. We still need to be adopted back to Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shah, through faith. We were called by the name of the other gods that we served. I mean, we were literally called Antiochians in 2 Maccabees, the 4th chapter. We were called Gentiles. We were called by the name of other gods. You have men actually named other gods like Apollos. Right? You have men that were literally called by the name of other gods because their fathers rebelled. But yet it sent a nation that wasn't called by my name. So you might read this and you might think that this is talking about the Edomites. Oh, the white man can make it. Chinese man. No. Right? It's speaking about us. Let's get 2nd Ezra 2. Then we'll move on. All right, we're the people that wasn't called by the name of the Lord. That's why I did a lesson on Amos, the 9th chapter. Right? Acts 15, Amos 9, and it goes hand in hand. Why did James reference Amos 9 to talk about Israelite foreigners? Because we became like those heathen that wasn't called by the Lord's name, But let me get this in Second Ezra 2. Then we'll move on. This is Second Ezra, chapter 2, and verse number 34. And therefore I say unto you, O ye heathen, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd. He shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand that shall come in the end of the world. So which people have the shepherd? Us. Shepherds are for sheep, right? And we're being called heathen. Why are we being called heathen? Because we followed the ways of the heathen. And that's that part of history that the Christians and even certain individuals in Israel have yet to understand, that our people were cut off from our nationality, cut off from our heritage. And we have to be adopted back into the Most High through faith and his son Yahweh Shah. All right, so that's what that's going into. Okay, next question. If mushrooms and yeast are both fungi, how come we can't eat mushrooms but can't eat yeast? Yeah, let's go to and we eat, let me get this real quick. And you have yeast in a lot of things, right? You have fermented yeast, you have yeast in bread and things of that nature. Now, the scriptures don't explicitly use the word fungi. Let me go back to this question. But mushrooms, last time I went into it, I have to go back deep into it. Mushrooms can grow on anything. They're not like a seeded creation of the Most High, right? They're like a mold, right? If you will, they're like in that same class, right? That's why they're unclean. But yeast is like a natural bacteria, for lack of better terms, a fungi that's found in bread or found in certain things that the Most High will allow us to eat. You know, now when you read and that's why you have so many different scriptures that speak about leaven, that speak about these things, because yeast was something that was common for us to be able to eat, or leaven, right? Scriptures call it leaven, but you don't read about mold and mushrooms and mildew and fungus and these different things, right? That could be poisonous or kill you, that don't have a natural usage for man. You know, the Most High said, let me get this real quick, right? The Most High has a purpose for all of his creation. And there are certain things that he has created that we are to indulge in, and herbs and things of that nature. There are certain things that we don't indulge in, right? This is Sirach chapter 39 and 27. All these things are for good to the godly, so to the sinners they are turned to evil. So the Lord has created things off the earth, man. You know, now everything out of the earth is not made to be consumed, even if it's an herb, right? You have things in the water that are like sea urchins and stuff that we can't eat. You got mushrooms that you can't eat. You know, now am I a botanist and am I able to go deep into that right now? No, we've done lessons on that, but all in all, we understand that yeast is made by the Most High for the natural use of man, to the point where even certain offerings have to be made without leaven, and we have to be made without leaven, right? So that's pretty much it on that. We don't really eat mushrooms, right? We don't really deal with mold or the those creations of the Most High that don't have a purpose for us in the law, right? Or for the diet of the Most High. And for Micah 2 and 12, does that go into Yahweh Shah bringing the Israelites back from captivity into their folds and promised land? Yes, that's what that's going into, right? Let's go into that. And I believe, I think Amos, maybe a year ago or so, he did a longer breakdown on the fungi and the yeast. And we could touch on that as well. We could do a more of an in-depth lesson in time to come. But this Micah chapter 2 and 12, I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Basra, as the sheep in the midst of their fold. They shall make great noise by the reason of the multitude of men. And again, this is a precept of the Lord gathering us, right? Bringing the sheep together and put us into that fold. Like Yahushua said, other sheep I have of this fold. Let me get that real quick in John 10. So it's about us as the sheep that were scattered abroad to different mountains, being gathered by the shepherd, being gathered by the shepherd. This is the book of John, chapter 10 and verse 15. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. So this one fold is the fold of sheep, and Micah 2 and 12. Right? That's what this is going into. It's an illustrated precept about the Lord gathering the elect, being likened unto sheep as that one fold. Let's read it again. Micah 2 and 12. I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. That's the 1/3. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Basra, as the flock in the midst of their fold. And they should make great noise by reason of the multitude of men, because those men are going to be, without number, right? You're not going to be able to number those men. The breaker has come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate and are going out by it, and their king shall pass before them, and the Lord on the head of them. So it's about Yahushua delivering us, right, from captivity. He's the shepherd, and we're the sheep. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, Swag Society. And 2 Chronicles 30 and 25 are the strangers, Israelites, similar to what 2 Chronicles 15 and 9 says. Right, let's go into it. I know I'm flying through these questions, but that's good. All right, that's good. All praises to the Most High. 2 Chronicles chapter 30 and verse number 25. It reads, and all the congregation of Judah, with the priests and the Levites, and all the congregation that came out of Israel, and the strangers that came out of the land of Israel, and that dwelt in Judah, rejoiced. Right? So let me share the screen. Yeah, these strangers, when you read this account, it's speaking about Israelites from the northern kingdom who still believed in the Most High, right? Who didn't fall away with the sins of Jeroboam, who didn't fall away with the sins of their fathers. You always had a small remnant of Israelites, even from the northern kingdom, that dwelt amongst the Judites and the children of Benjamin. Right? Even geographically, Simeon was inside the land of Judah. So you always had that remnant, right? Even let me just pull that up. 12 tribes. Allotted map, just to give a quick visual. You always had a remnant of tribes. Look at this. So you have Judah right here. Then you have Simeon. Right? Simeon was always there. Now eventually, they was with the rest of the tribes, but you always had a remnant. Then you always had tribes, like when you read Tobit. Tobit was from the tribe of Naphtali, right? And he would always come to Jerusalem to keep the feast days. In the book of Luke, you had Anna the prophetess of the tribe of Asher. Even in the time of Yahushua, she was in Jerusalem. She was from the tribe of Asher, which means her father dwelt there. So not every single northern kingdom Israelite came to this side of the world. You always had a remnant that was behind. Now to what number that was, only the Most High knoweth. Right? Can we go into great detail and say it was 300 or 3,000? No. But that's what 2 Chronicles 30 is going into, because they sent posts out throughout the different tribes to get them to come back. Now check this out. This 2 Chronicles 30 and 18. For a multitude of the people, even many of Ephraim and Manasseh, Issachar and Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves. Yet did they eat the Passover otherwise than it was written, But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, the good Lord pardon everyone. So you always had that remnant of the northern tribes that came back with came to Hezekiah to keep the Passover. Right? Let's go to 2 Chronicles 15. And why were they called strangers? Because they weren't native to that land, to the land of Judea. 2 Chronicles chapter 15 and verse number 9. Here's another precept. And he gathered all Judah and Benjamin, and the strangers with them out of Ephraim and Manasseh, and out of Simeon. For they fell to him out of Israel in abundance when they saw that the Lord his God was with him. So when King Asa, which is the son of Abijah, which is the son of Jeroboam, which is the son of Solomon, Rehoboam, Salaki, which is the son of Solomon, which is the son of David, when he was, doing his thing in righteousness and putting away sin and strengthening Israel, you had other northern kingdom tribes that were called strangers that dwelt amongst us. Okay, that dwelt amongst us. So, Khan, that's what that's going into. They are indeed similar. Okay, HBK lit, Shalom King. Was Samson in sin for disclosing his Nazirite vow to his wife? He wasn't prepared for the backstab. He didn't break the vow on his own free will. Judges 16, 17 through 18. Yes, Samson was in sin. Yeah, he went off. Samson, first of all, Samson had an affinity for these heathen women, which the Most High told him not to deal with, right? Even his father told him not to deal with that. So he gave his strength over to the woman, which the Most High explicitly forbids for the men of the Lord to give their strength over to anyone but himself. So him revealing that to his wife was him violating the counsel of the Most High. Right? Now, let me get this real quick. Right? And the Lord said, let's go to Baruch. Let me get two quick precepts. This is Baruch chapter 4. So yeah, he went off. Right? He went the hell off. Baruch chapter 4 and verse number 3. Give not thine honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee to a strange nation. Yeah, everybody don't have to know everything. Remember, that was Hezekiah's folly. Hezekiah, he revealed all of his house unto these Babylonians. He was charged with folly. The Lord said the thoughts of foolishness are sin. So it's a foolish thing to be the judge of Israel and deal with your enemy, the woman of your enemy, then give your strength over to that woman, and then get overthrown. So he gave his honor to another, and what was profitable unto him, his strength that could have been used to save his people, which he did use to fight against the Philistines, he gave it all over to a strange nation. Let's go to Proverbs 31. Right? And I know you asked, he wasn't prepared for the backstab where he should have been, because he knew better. He got weak. I mean, you give your strength over to a heathen woman, you tell her all your secrets, and if she used that against you, that's your problem. The Most High said, who will pity a charmer that is bit with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beast? So is it when a man goeth into a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? Paraphrasing. Proverbs chapter 31 and verse number 3. Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. Yeah, you gave all your substance to Delilah. You told her wherein your great strength lieth, that an angel gave your father and your mother. She had no business knowing that. She didn't need to know that. The strength the Most High gave you, he gave you that to destroy your enemies. So it was a selfish, lewd thing that Solomon did. It was extremely selfish, knowing that strength was being used to fight against the Philistines and save Israel from their hand. And he gave it all away, not thinking about the nation that needed him. And I mean, that's how brothers get, man. Brothers all have types of talents and gifts and skills the Most High give them, and you give it all away to doctrines, philosophies, wicked women, whores, and you do the most selfish thing that you can never do, which is despise your nation. Then he did it with the people that was at war with him, and that destroyed him. Right? So yes, that was a sin. Let's go to Proverbs 24 and 9. The thought of foolishness is sin, and the scorner is an abomination to men. So to have that thought and say, you know what? I've been a Nazarite from my womb. If any man shave my head, I should be weak as other men. You know, you went off. That strength wasn't given to you for you to just give up. That strength was given unto you for you to save your people. The Lord said in Philippians 2, look not on your own things, but on the things of others. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Hamashiach Yahushua. You know? So these are the things that we have to consider. The Lord said, consider that I labor not for myself only, but for all those that seek learning. So Solomon should have had that in his mind, and we all have to have that in our mind. That the talents and gifts and the strengths that Yahweh had given us through his son Yahushua, right, the Holy Spirit, is not for us. It's for the elect of Israel. And when you give that over to the flesh and you give over to the carnal mind, not only do you despise the Most High and his son Yahushua, you also despise your nation. You're pretty much spitting at them in the face. You know, so these are the things that Samson did not consider. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, Shalom, King. Will we forever have a spirit without measure like Yahushua in the kingdom? Will we be released from these chains of darkness, or is it only for a season to take the nations down and subdue them? Yes, we're going to have the same body as Yahushua. So whatever Yahushua was able to do, we're going to do that as well. Right? Even Yahushua said, greater works. Let me get that verse. Shall he do in John 14. Right? This is John chapter 14 and verse 12. Remember, we're going to be joint heirs with Yahushua in the kingdom. So a joint heir is a co-heir. Whatever the father gives one party of that covenant, then he gives it to the other party. So Yahushua is going to, of course, he's going to be above us in the spirit and in all things, and every knee shall bow. But we're going to receive the same authority and power that the Lord had. Now, this is John 14 and 12. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also. And greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. So greater works we're going to be able to do through the name of Yahweh and his son Yahushua. Now, let's go to Philippians chapter 3. This is Philippians chapter 3 and verse number 21. Who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things unto himself. So this vile body, these chains of darkness, you know, us being subject to pain, sin, temptation, infirmities, weaknesses, we get destroyed by the elements. We drown in water, die in tornadoes and hurricanes, get burned in fires, the earthquakes kill us, but we're going to be able to control those elements. Yahushua controlled the winds and the sea. He said, what manner of man is this? Where even the sea and the winds obey him. So our body's going to be changed. We're going to be able to control those things. That's what this means right here. That it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body. That's a spiritual body. There's a natural body, there's a spiritual body. You have a terrestrial body, you have a celestial body. You have a weak body, you have a strong body. You have a body that can do nothing, you have a body that can do everything. Right? Let's see how our body is going to be. According to what? According to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things into himself. So that's the standard. Our glorious body is going to be in a way where we are going to be able to subdue all things. It doesn't say some things. We don't get a grocery list of 5 things, right? It says all things we're going to be able to subdue. Let's go to Psalms chapter 17. This is Psalms chapter 17 and verse number 15. As for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness. So this goes into the resurrection. Men are going to come out the grave and be in the exact same likeness of Yahushua when they awake, when the Lord returns. This is similar to what we just read in Philippians, the 3rd chapter, right? Where the Lord is going to give us those spiritual bodies. And it's not just to take the nations down, right? Those bodies don't have a timer on them. Then after we take the nations down, you go back to being whoever you was. Okay, next question. Does Matthew 15, 10 through 11 tie in with Isaiah chapter 66 and 17 in any way? Also, for the medical health purposes, is it safe to consume mushrooms? So we discussed mushrooms already. Now let's deal with Matthew chapter 15 and 10 through 11. All right, let's deal with that. All right, let's deal with it. Matthew chapter 15, verses 10 through 11. And he called the multitude, and he called the multitude and said unto them, hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. And again, this isn't talking about pork. It's not saying I can eat shrimp, crab, and lobster. I can eat a dead body, feces, a rat, a slug, you know? This is talking about washing hands and the traditions of the elders that were being enforced as law. They had traditions that were held to the same standard as law. So if you didn't wash your hands, they looked at it as if you were, ate pork, or if you ate an unclean animal. These laws that these Pharisees had when you dive into it, man, was so egregious and so weighty, they treated it as if it was actually in the Torah. So they got on Yahushua for not washing his hands, which is a tradition. Let's jump up and see that. This is Matthew chapter 15 and verse number 2. Let me start at 1. Then came to Yahushua scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, why do thy disciples transgress? That's a heavy word to use. The tradition of the elders, for they wash not their hands when they eat bread. Right? To say somebody transgressed the tradition, I mean, that's a heavy word right there to use. And that's why they were mad. Because remember, we as a people, we always purified ourselves. We washed ourselves, right? Our hands, we washed our feet. We're always, a clean people. Not like the so-called white man, who is not a clean man. He's very unclean. But we, on the contrary, we are a very clean people that believe in purification, that believe in sanctity, that believe in holy behavior, but they were over righteous. The Most High said, be not righteous over much. It's not a law where you have to wash your hands. So they went back and forth, and Yahushua cut them, right? Yahushua told them in Matthew 5, 15 to 10, it's not about what you eat. It's about what you think, right? You're worried about an actual bread that I eat that you think is defiled with hands, but your whole mind is defiled. That's the true thing that's defiled. Because whatever I eat goes in my stomach and it come out the drought. But you still, whatever comes out the drought in me, you got that in your mind. That's what he's telling them. You're defiled. Because what comes out of your mind? All manner of uncleanness. Let's read that. Matthew 15 and verse number 17. Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly and is cast out into the drought. So you eat, digest, you waste your food, right? It's done. But those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart and they defile the man. Right. So if I'm thinking about laying down with another man's wife, I'm like just bugging out, I'm defiled. If I'm thinking about, damn, man, I wonder how some catfish nuggets taste. That's wickedness, man. And I'm sitting here, I'm watering at the mouth, and I'm looking up online who got the hot catfish nuggets. And okay, well, I looked up this place, it's $9.99, and well, this place is $5.99. But if I get the 12 piece, it come with a side of, hey, that's wickedness, man. So your thoughts can defile you. And if you're eating unclean foods, that's where Isaiah 66 and 17 comes in. Right? Let's read that. Isaiah 66 and 17 is the judgment for those who do eat pork. It is not the judgment for those who wash their hands. This judgment as well is about those who don't have a pure mind, right? Who don't have a pure heart with the Most High. Isaiah, because you have people in the world who don't eat pork. They may be Muslims. They're still going to be destroyed. You have vegetarians who don't eat pork, but they're lesbians. They're still going to be destroyed. You have vegans who are eating God knows what. A bag of raisins, right? For breakfast, lunch, and 3 almonds for dinner. Okay, they don't eat pork. Now what? Are they going to make it? Or they wash their hands? No. Right? So it's about the spirit. It's always been about the spirit, and it's never been about the flesh. So to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. That's written. The Most High said he looketh not on the outward appearance as man looketh, for man looketh on the outward, but the Most High he looks on the heart. In 1 Samuel 16 and 7, the Lord ain't looking. Let me see your hands. Did you wash your hands? I see a spot right there. Okay, angel, cut them down. Okay, next man, come up. You show your hands like this. The Lord says, let me see him around. Turn them around. You show him like this. Then the Lord looking at your cuticles, and he's seeing your dirt in your nails. And this brother, he's so unclean. Oh, man. The Lord ain't going to check out your cuticles. Oh, he got a hangnail, or his hands ain't right. He's looking at your spirit. Isaiah 66 and 17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. Right? So that's plain. All right. They are going to be consumed. Next question. Shalom, Adawan. Shalom, King. If a male commits adultery, and according to the Levitical law, he is supposed to be put to death. It's the wife of that now dead male, now divorced from marriage since 1 Corinthians 7 and 39. So let's read it again. If a male commits adultery, for those who don't know what adultery is when a man has sex with a woman that is promised to, which we call betrothed, and or married to another man. Right? That's him committing adultery. Now, in the ancient world, pursuant to Leviticus 20 and 10, that man is supposed to get put to death for adultery. So he's right with that. Now, is that wife divorced from that marriage? In a sense, not that I wouldn't use the word. In the ancient world, yes, right? We'll say that. In the ancient world, yes. But really, there was a bill of divorce that had to be given to that woman. But is she free to marry who she will? I mean, yes, in a sense, yes. That's the divorce. Her being stoned, okay, now the divorce is there. And she can marry who she will. Right? Now, let's read 1 Corinthians 7 to 39. Right? Let's read 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and 39. It reads, the wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth. But if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord. So as long as that man is alive, no matter if that man didn't take out the trash, it don't matter if that man got fired from his job, right? It don't matter if that man got fat, right? It don't matter. That woman, she with that man. He's not the same anymore. And y'all better figure it out. The only way you can leave that man is if that man dies. Right? And a lot of white women be doing that. They actually hire with them hitmen. Eve don't hire hitmen. Eve would just leave their husband and freak off. But these Edomite women, they get their husband killed. They got money to hire hitmen. They got money to do strange things. They're thinking about life insurance. Right? You got that TV network show, the ID channel. And all that's white people, man, Edomites. Now they try to put Eve in every now and then, but most of them Edomites, man, and they be bugging out. So they be looking to kill their husband to get out their marriage. Poison them, put an insurance policy on them, hire a hitman. So the point of the matter is, a man, if he dies, that's the only way that woman could be with another man. Right? He got to drop dead. Now, I want to touch on the second part. It says, but if her husband, and this don't have to be adultery all the time. Because right now, let's say you commit adultery. Let's say you're a man, you commit adultery on your wife. You can't get stoned. So if you commit adultery and you're in the truth now, can your wife go marry another man? No, that's not in the scriptures. Is that a heinous, wicked act? Yes. Right? But that man is alive. Now, let's say in the truth, okay, your husband dies. It says she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord. So she can marry who she want to marry, but that brother got to be in the truth. That's what this means, only in the Lord. She has to marry a brother in the Lord. She can't go out and marry Rail from down the street. Husband dead, then she go back to her damn ex, man, from her senior year, her college freshman year. She better look, and it's real, man. She better find a brother with the fringes and the border of blue, with sound doctrine, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I don't want to marry him. He already got a wife. Okay. Hey, but the point of the matter is, it can only be a brother in the Lord. All right, let's move on. Okay, Shalom King, can you have concubines in this generation? If so, how? Yeah, it's not a sin, right? To have, I would be a liar to go into the scriptures and say you can't have a concubine because there's no scripture on that. But is it expedient? Is it expedient for a brother to be having concubines? Right? No, it's not expedient, brother. Right? It's not expedient. Is it profitable for you? No. You always tell brothers, these are the days of Ezra and Nehemiah. These are the days where we need to be building, having our mind focused on the Lord. Right? But is it a sin to have that? No. Right? Is it a sin to have more than one wife? Absolutely not. Not at all. You know? Now, you ask how. Am I going to be able to go into give a playbook on how a brother can get a concubine and what he should do? And am I here to give counsel on that matter? No. Yahweh Shah said, who made me what do you say? Let me get this. Who made me a judge to divide the inheritance? But let me get that real quick. Let me see if I can find that. Let me see if I can get this precept. I believe it's in Luke. Salaki, let me get this real quick. Right. I just want to touch on this. Right. Luke, I believe that's Luke. Yeah, Luke 12 and 13. It reads, and one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother that he divide the inheritance with me. And he said it to him, man, who made me, he said, man, who made me judge or a divider over you? Yahushua was cold, man. Right? So he said, hey, this has nothing to do with me, man. I'm not here to solve carnal matters. I'm not here to be the guy to say, okay, you get this many oxen. Okay, you get that many oxen. Okay, here, brother, here, you get, the Lord ain't come for that, man. He came to do business. So he pretty much cussed him out, man. He said, I'm not him, man. Go find somebody else that could deal with that. Now, that's not how I'm handling this, but the point of the matter is, I can't give a brother a playbook on here, here's what you do. Okay, here's where you go. Okay, this nation over that nation. Okay, then you do this. Okay, then when you take your money out this account, okay, put it in this account. Okay, then once you do that, this is enough for your main rib, because you got to make sure that, okay, she got this, but your concubine, remember your concubine, if she get pregnant, okay, well, make sure you do this, because that pregnancy is going to be, okay, because you may, no, right? We're not the judge of, we're not the counselor of concubines tonight. Okay, but yes, can you have them lawfully? Yes. Is it expedient? Not all the time, right? Let's get up 1 Corinthians 10-23. Let's get one precept. I'm not trying to come off, disrespectful, but we have to judge things according to the Spirit, right? 1 Corinthians 10-23. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. So everything don't have to really be, touched on. Right? All things edify not, right? We can't edify on all things, because all things are not expedient. Right? The word expedient, it means pretty much, is it necessary? Okay. Is it profitable? Okay. Now, Abraham had concubines, right? Or he had concubines. David had concubines. Let's just prove that real quick. The 2 Samuel chapter 5-13. And David took him more concubines and wives out of Jerusalem after he was come from Hebron, and there were yet sons and daughters born unto David. And a concubine is a woman, it's a secondary wife, a lesser wife. It's a lesser wife, and it's primarily used for pleasure, or to bring forth children. All right, that was the job of concubines, mainly to bring forth children. Okay, and or pleasure, right? So, right, that's what that was for. From Kima Israel, I have a simple question. I would like to have locks, lawful or not. Sister, believe that, sister, that's not unlawful, right? There's no law on that, right? There's no law that says that you can't have locks, sister. That's a sister, right? 2 Samuel 5. It's like I went Romans, right? Let's get this. Romans 5-14. 5-13. Romans 5-13. For until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. So if there's no law that says you can't have locks, then we can't say that it's a sin to have locks. I know I've heard certain brothers say, well, that came from the Japhites or the Elamites, or that has nothing to do with anything, right? That's absolutely nothing to do with anything. Is it a sin or is it not? Right? Is it righteous or is it wicked? Right? And nobody can verify who was the first person to have locks. There's nobody was there. Right? Oh, that came from these people. Well, hold on. First of all, those people came out of us. Right? We Adam, down to Seth, Enos, Canaan, Mahalil, Jared, Enoch, right? Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, Shem, Arphaxad, all the way down. Right? That all the nations come out of us anyway. So let's move on. Brother Willie, can you break down Exodus chapter 20, verse 25, and Exodus chapter 21 and verse 4? Okay, let's deal with it. Exodus 20 and 25. Okay, Exodus chapter 20 and 25. And if thou will make me an altar of stones, thou shalt not build it of a hewn stone, for if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Yeah, so the altars had to be built basically without altering the stone, right? So you couldn't use something that you carved out, for lack of better terms. You couldn't take a chisel and an axe and carve out the stone of altar. It had to be a pure stone, like in the spirit. As we built the altar in the last days, these altars are like the Lord said in Daniel, the second chapter, a stone made without hands, right? We're stones that are being used to build the altar, right? Straight from Yahweh Shai, lively stones. And we haven't been polluted and influenced by the works of man. That's what it represents on the spiritual level. The tools are the works of man, being defiled by how man wants to design you, how man wants to frame you, how man wants to shape you, how man wants to mold you. No, you have to be a whole stone, and that has to be used for the altar. It has not been influenced by the ideology of man. So in the ancient world, when our fathers did build these altars, and they made them of stone, it couldn't be polluted by man's devices because it could be corrupted. The sizes could be different. It had to just be raw, straight out according to the laws of the Most High, right? That's how it was built. That's how all of our fathers built them, you know? Now, you also asked for Exodus 21. And I believe you said 4. Okay. Exodus 21 and 4. You know, to understand 4, I'm going to read 1 through 4. I'm going to read 1 through 4 so everybody can understand the context of verse 4. Exodus 21 and 1. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. He'll serve you for 6 years, and at the year of release, he goes out. He doesn't owe you anything. If he came in by himself, he should go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife should go out with him. Yeah, there might have been a couple. They say, look, baby, you know, whatever he called this woman, hey, we on hard times. Hey, look, you know, we're going to work for this family right here. And, you know, we're going to work for them for 6 years, save up money so we can buy our land, redeem our land, whatever they was going into. They had to get their finances right. So him and his wife will leave together. Now, here's your question in verse 4. If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her masters, and he should go out by himself. And that's the law, right? I mean, this is plain. You work for a man, and he gave you a wife, he gave you sons and daughters. You can only keep them if you stay with that man forever. Right? That was the stipulation. The stipulation was if you worked for 6 years and that 3rd year, 2nd year, 1st year, 5th year, 6th year, he gave you a wife and y'all had children, you have to understand that you're going to have to lose them. So you have to think about that. While you were working, that was a decision. Right? He might have a beautiful daughter. You might have loved your master. But then you might have said, you know what? Nah, I don't need that. I'm here to get this money, right? I'm here to work. I got stuff I got to take care of. I'm not trying to be tapped into your woman. I mean, to your daughter. I'm not thinking about that. So a lot of men, they didn't take a wife. They was look, I got to get this money, man. I got to redeem my brother. The year of Jubilee's coming up. Then you might have had a brother. He probably didn't have much going on. He might have said, you know what? Hey, look, you know, you treat me well. You take care of me. It's like having a so-called good job. Some brothers don't leave a so-called good job. You got a sure thing. You know, you've been there for a while, man. You know, they look out for you, give you days off. They don't say nothing, let you come in late. Don't micromanage you. You break, you know, your break could be an hour. They don't, you know, you might stay there a while. So the master might have given him a wife, but if he took that wife, he had to understand, you know, hey, look, I'm gonna have to stay with this guy forever. That's what verse 5 says. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. So he might have fell in love with this woman. He got that emotional attachment, and he's considering this thing. He got children. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges, and he shall bring him to the door or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. So that's a heavy thing right there. You have to really think about that. Is that worthwhile? Now, if you fell in love and you start, and you regretted it, and you have to deal with it. Because let's say you're dealing with this woman, right? And this woman, let's say y'all fall out or whatever happened, right? And you still belong to this guy. You can't say, I'm done with this woman, I'm out. And you still belong to him. So this was a very weighty matter. A very, very weighty matter. All right. And you had that. And if you saw them guys in the ancient world with that hole in their ear from that awl, you looked at those guys. You say, hey, he's one of them. Now, it wasn't a bad thing, but you kind of knew what those guys was based off of that distinguishing mark that was through his ear. Now your ear really represents your mind on a spiritual level. Your ear is a representation of your mind, which is a physical sign that your mind is completely attached to this master and all things that he has forever. It's like, equivalent to how Yahweh Bashmah said that a man's conscience is seared with a hot iron, right? It means that you belong to Satan, you belong to these demons forever. So that's why it was the ear and it wasn't the toe. It wasn't it wasn't you get branded. It was that because it represents your mind. That's what the ear represents. That's why even the priests will have their blood sprinkled on their ear, their big toe, right? Their thumb, because those things are the chief strength of works and understanding. Right? But let's move on. Okay, so we're getting some good questions through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Okay, from Eliania, Salakia. A man has a rib and tells that rib that he has sexual relations with another woman and made her his rib as well. Then he goes out and has sex with another woman. At what point is he becoming an adulterer? Right? Let me see the second part. I'm not talking about a man that doesn't know he's an Israelite. I'm talking about men that are teachers in the body. We got ourselves a sticky situation, right? At what point does he become an adulterer or a fornicator? So somebody in the truth, right? So let's say he's married to woman A, right? He's married to woman A. And he goes and this is two ways this could play out. One, this is the righteous way it could play out. He's married to woman A, right? They've been together, let's say a year. Then he says, you know what? I want to take on a second wife, right? He takes on a second wife. Now he's married to woman B. He says, you know what? I want to take on a third wife. Now he's married to woman C. If he's married to woman A and woman B did not have a husband, neither was she betrothed, that's lawful. If he marries woman C, she wasn't betrothed and she didn't have a husband, that is lawful. So a man can have as many wives as he wants. The only thing that would make that man an adulterer is if those women are betrothed or married to other men. That would make him an adulterer. Now, what would make him a fornicator is if he's married to woman A. This is the second way it'll play out. He's married to woman A. He goes down, he lays with woman B. He has sex with woman B, and woman B is married. Now it's adultery and or fornication. Or kind of really a third way, he lays down with woman B, but he says, you know what? That was good. Thank you for your service. I'm out. I'm going to go do my own thing, right? I don't want you as my wife. I just wanted to do that. It is what it is. You go your way, I'm gonna go my way, and it is what it is. That would also be fornication, also known as a whoremonger. Okay. So if he's not taking these women as his wife, if that's not his sincere actions, and it's not done in the spirit of righteousness, and or if these women are married or promised to other men, then that would, at that point, that will make him an adulterer or a fornicator. All right. Let's get a precept on that. All right, let's get one quick precept. That will make him an adulterer and or a fornicator. But a man is allowed to have more than one wife according to the law. I read the precept in 2 Samuel 5 that David multiplied. He had his wives. Jacob had 4 wives. At one time, Abraham had 2 wives. Had a Hagar, he had Sarah. Many men had more than one wife. But all those women that those men dealt with, they weren't promised to or married to other men. Let's go to Sirach 23. All right, let's go to Ecclesiastes. It's the 23rd chapter. Now, I'll say this just to give some practicality that I've seen based off of experience. I've seen brothers lay down with women, right, and say, you know what? I'm going to lay down with you. But they never told these women about the law. They don't know nothing about the truth, nothing about the Most High, right? They are as green as the grass is. And they lay down with these women, wake up the next morning. He opened up the Bible, and the Bible, she wake up to a scripture in her face, and it says, look, we married, right? We married. That's the law. Remember, we married. I mean, here's the scripture. I'm going to show you right now. We married. See, that would be wicked because obviously she's not going to want to comply to that because it's not done in righteousness. Or I tried to, then the brother say, I need counsel. We need counsel. I'm trying to be my wife. We're not seeing eye to eye. She wants to leave. Why, Ak? What happened? I don't know. She's just, then all hell break loose. We find out, Ak, you was just popping his sister. And then, 2 days later, you told her you married. So brothers will do that so they can freak off and lay with as many women. They think they found the loophole. You can't, ain't no loophole with the Most High. But in their bugged out mind, they think they found a loophole where they could cheat the game, for lack of better terms, and lay down with all these women, not tell the woman the laws of the Most High and sex consummates the marriage, and they can just go from woman to woman to woman to woman to woman to woman to woman. But then they'll say, well, I tried to marry him, tried to told her that, So I've seen that as well. So that's pretty much that, sister. Okay. So what would make him an adulterer is if he laid down with one of these sisters that woman was promised to or married to another individual. All right. She was promised to or married to another individual. Okay. From that roof be real. Okay. I break down Jeremiah 27:8. What do we do about Trump and Baruch 1:11? All right, let's deal with it. All right, let's go to it. Jeremiah 27:8, right? Regarding these kings, it reads, and it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom that will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, said the Lord, with the sword and with famine, and with the famine and with the pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand. Right. We were told by the Most High to put our neck under the yoke of king of Babylon. We had to serve him for 70 years. If anybody rebelled, like Zedekiah and other men, you had a man named Ishmael, he rebelled. Those men were put to death, right? Those men were eventually put to death by the Most High. So if the Most High told you to submit to this power, then you have to submit to this power. And even in this society, there are principalities and powers above us that we have to comply with to a degree. As long as the laws of this society does not impose on our will and our ability to serve the Most High, then we do so. Yahushua said, render unto Caesar the things that be unto Caesar, and unto God the things that be unto God. So if we got to pay taxes, if I got to stop at a red light, if I got pay a fine, then I got to pay a fine. Right? I render unto this devil what he get, and I render unto the Most High, Yahweh Bashmel what he gets. Now let's go to Baruch 1 and 11. Right? Baruch chapter 1 and 11. And pray for the life of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, for the life of Belshazzar, his son, that their days may be upon earth as the days of heaven. Right, that's plain. And we were told to do that. Why were we told to do that? So the Most High would allow us to have our servitude in peace. Right, so we can serve these heathen kings and just get it done away with, man. So they won't just rise up and slay us and destroy us. Were we praying for them to be the elect, to be the 144,000, to get a crown on their head? No. Right? We were praying for them so the Most High didn't put a spirit on them to destroy us. Right? When you read the book of Tobit, let me get a precept in Tobit, because that wasn't always the case, man. This is Tobit chapter 1 and verse number, let's see. It's like I want to get this in Tobit. Bear with me. I want to get this in Tobit, the first chapter. Here it is, Tobit 1 and 18. And if the king Sennacherib had slain any, when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privately. For in his wrath he killed many. But the bodies were not found when they were sought for of the king. Because every captivity we served, it wasn't easy. See, King Sennacherib was slaying all of those Israelites, man. He was killing many. So it was in our best interest to pray to the Most High for Nebuchadnezzar and his son, that we were allowed to serve our captivity in peace. Right? I mean, that's all it is, man. Right? It's not a deep breakdown for that. Okay, and we've covered some of that. We covered that on the lesson we did regarding Gentile salvation. Stop the lies. Gentiles can't receive salvation. We touched on 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, Baruch 1 and 11. We touched on these different accounts of how we have to deal with these heathen powers and rulers, even in captivity. And although you may look at a verse and like, well, hold on, does that mean the heathen can make it? No, doesn't mean the heathen can't make it. You think Nebuchadnezzar is going to be in a chariot? No, he's not going to be in the chariot. He's not going to make it. Well, the scriptures say pray for him. Well, that has nothing to do with anything. The prophecy is the prophecy, right? The prophecy is indeed the prophecy. All right. So with that, I know there's a lot more questions, right? And we'll have to do a part 2. But with that, we're going to close up. Giving, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh. You can always hit me up, go on an email, or wait to the next Q&A. Anything that you want to do, whatever option you think is best to get your question answered, all right, by all means, do so. The email is watchmanforisrael77@gmail.com, or you can wait to the next Q&A, or you can hit up brothers on their Instagram and hit up the main Watchman for Israel Instagram, or just wait to the next Q&A, right? Whatever option you think best. The Most High willing you are edified. Kwame Yashab. Shalom.